Woo! All right, guys, what's going on? It's me, Tim, back with another video for you today because I wanted to talk to you about something that I haven't really talked about on this channel, and that's like one of those what's in my wedding camera bag, because I carry a lot of different types of bags, but what I take with me on a wedding day is different than what I take with me on a family shoot, is different than what I film with, is different than my film equipment. And each bag that I carry has a different set of tools in it for the job. So today, I'm actually going to talk to you about what I have in my digital camera bag for weddings. Like, I do have a separate setup for just film when I'm shooting primarily film at weddings, and each wedding is different, so I have a different approach to each wedding. Either way, as a film shooter, when I shoot digital, has completely changed how I approach weddings and how I approach the day when it comes to having gear. Before, probably the last 3 or 4 years, I used to carry a bunch of lenses. And what was actually happening when I was carrying all those lenses was really decision paralysis. Instead of concentrating on the lens that was in my or on my camera, I was more thinking about how could I make this image better with the lens that was in my camera bag or the camera that was in my camera bag. So I think this is a problem that a lot of photographers have that they don't necessarily talk about. But over the last several years, I have really kind of managed my gear to be somewhat minimal for what I use when I'm photographing a wedding with digital equipment. And even the same, and I'll make a different video about what I carry when I'm shooting primarily film at a wedding. So I do offer several different packages. I do offer a digital only package, and I offer a film only package, and the prices differ and vary based upon the tools that I'm using for that particular wedding. So without much further ado, let's talk about what's in my digital camera bag. So I'm going to back up here just a second. So in this bag that you can probably barely see, this is the Peak Design 10L Everyday Carry Bag. This is the version 1. They do have a version 2, which I wasn't super crazy about, so I stuck with the version 1. But it's not so much about my bag per se, as much as it is about what's in my bag, right? So what is in this bag is just different. So I don't carry a ton of gear to weddings really anymore, because I feel extremely confident that I can get the shot with what I have inside this bag when I'm shooting digital. Okay, so first, let's talk about what's in the pockets here. Memory card holder. You probably see that right there. Yeah, it's kind of gross. I've had this one for about, oh man, probably about 7 or 8 years. It still does its job. It holds the memory cards. And with that, I carry, probably 15 to 20 different memory cards. Although I never use them because I never shoot a ton. Even that is a different topic for a different day. But I carry batteries, also random batteries for random things, because I use this bag for multiple things. So you have a couple of batteries in this bag that I carry. So I, generally speaking, I can get through a full wedding day on about 3 batteries, give or take a few. Some of them are aftermarket, so they die a little quicker than others. But as you can see, I am a Canon shooter. For digital, I have shot a lot of different types of camera bodies, from Sony to Fuji to I shot Nikon once. That was more of a one-night stand, and that was really about it. So the other thing that I carry in my bag are rechargeable AA batteries, as you can kind of see right there. They're all kind of mixed match, but they get the job done. So AA batteries, gotta carry AA batteries. Now let's get to the meat and potatoes of what's in this bag, because like I said, This is more of a minimal type setup for weddings because I don't like carrying a ton of gear. There was a once upon a time, probably about 6 years ago, where I had a rolling Pelican case with 7 different prime lenses and 4 or 5 different bodies. And to be happy, I was never happy with any of the photographs that I was taking because I was constantly having decision paralysis. So I found by limiting what I have, being more minimal-esque with my equipment allowed me to create more efficiently and more effectively, not only for my clients, but for myself. It allowed me to be more in the moment versus in my bag. So without much further ado, this is my digital kit. So I have, as you open up this bag, you can kind of see the gear that's in there. I have my Leica M10 here, and this is on this Leica M10 is the TT Artisans 50. I'm actually reviewing this, so I have been shooting this at a lot of weddings over the last few weeks just to kind of see what this lens is capable of doing. So I have my Leica M10, always shoot with this, all bridal prep, all groom prep, pretty much the entire day, except for a handful of moments in the day where I pull out my other camera that is in my bag. All right, so the Leica M10, the 50mm, because 50mm is probably one of my favorite focal lengths, as you've noticed if you've been on this channel at all. The 40 Voigtlander here, 40mm 1.4. Now, I don't necessarily shoot with a 35 a ton, but I love this lens because it is the best of both worlds for the Leica M system. It's kind of like a 50, kind of like a 35, but it's a 40, so it works well for me. It's my favorite lens, hands down my favorite lens. I shoot this all the time, absolutely all the time. Love this lens. I apologize. I'm actually kind of just getting over a cold or just catching a cold, but you know, I was outside all day yesterday photographing a fun run and photographing families yesterday on my only Saturday off. The other thing that's in my camera bag is the Canon, see here, R6. Here, this is my favorite digital camera. I have it on the 50 EF with the adapter, with the RF to EF adapter. I have tried the 50-1.2 RF and it is a great lens, but it is just too perfect. This lens is the perfect combination for me as a wedding photographer of imperfection and perfection. Hands down, must have, I feel, for any Canon shooter is the 50-1.2 L lens, but this pretty much stays on my camera for the vast majority of the day. So as I say, my bag's almost empty. I don't have a ton more in here. The other thing that I carry, now, I try my hardest not to shoot with anything over a 50mm unless I absolutely have to. So my bag does kind of change from time to time depending upon the venue that I'm shooting in, because different weddings require different tools. And I don't like to necessarily carry all of them. That's why I do a little research of the venue prior to getting there, and why I talk with the officiant prior to getting there. So that way I know exactly what I need to take, so I don't have to carry too much for just in case situations. Because so many times I've brought an 85mm lens, which I hate. I despise that lens, although I know a lot of people love that focal length. But I prefer not to shoot with anything over a 50 because I feel like I could shoot my entire life with a 50mm focal length and never perfect it. So my goal as a photographer is to gosh, I can't even talk, is to perfect the 50mm focal length before I die. Hopefully I don't die before I perfect it, but that's kind of where I'm going. So the last thing lens in my bag is the Canon, see here you go, there you go, 15-35. This lens is a beast. It's huge, it's massive, but it gives you the best of all wide focal lengths. It gives you super wide for 15s for like the horror, so you can really kind of get into a scene and photograph with it. It gives you the 24 millimeter focal length and 35. So it's literally the best of all worlds. Now, I don't shoot with this, but dancing situations, or in case I'm in a very, very tight wedding room or hotel where I can't shoot the 50, where this lens comes into play. But it is a great lens, hands down my favorite RF lens, but it stays in my bag the vast majority of the day because I try and shoot with a 50 millimeter, with the 50 focal length, because that is what my eyes see best and what I'm trying to perfect as a creative and as a photographer. Now, the last thing that I carry with me, and I know a lot of other photographers are probably going to gasp because a lot of my friends are flash photographers or off-camera photographers. Now, I can do that. I can shoot off camera if I wanted to, but I prefer to shoot with my flash on camera, either direct at my subject or bouncing it off of a wall. And here I have a really cheap $50, maybe it's $75 Yongnuo Speedlight. Let's see, there you go. It's been pretty beat up, but it still works. And I shoot this in manual mode, but primarily when I shoot it for receptions, and it works great. It gets the job done. There's no reason to go out and buy a Canon 60 EX2 flash. Heck, they don't even make flashes really any cheaper than this. But I'm sure you can find other brands that are pretty cheap. But this Yongnuo YN 562 Speedlight, it is perfect. It is perfection. It is the only Speedlight that you will need. You can buy multiple of them if you want, if you have a bigger camera bag. But I only carry one. I only need one, and I only need an extra set of batteries because that can get me through the entire day of a wedding day with what I'm shooting. Now, my goal as a photographer is to carry just the right tools that I need to photograph an event. And when I'm shooting a wedding, this is basically all that I carry. A Leica M10 with two lenses, a 50. Sometimes it's the Summicron, sometimes it's the Summa Lux. But right now it's a TT Artisan lens because I'm reviewing that. A 40 millimeter focal length, 35 if I want to shoot family formals or shoot grip and grins, and I need a little extra space that a 50 can't get me. I will toss on that 40 onto my Leica M10. And I carry the Canon R6 and the 50 millimeter focal length. Now, keep in mind, I do believe in having backup gear. So while I don't necessarily carry it with me, I do keep a Canon 5D Classic and a cheap 50 millimeter 1.8 in my car with another Yongnuo flash, just in case something happens to my gear, someone steals it or it goes missing, that I can just run out to my car, grab the camera gear that I have, and continue to photograph a wedding with that lens. And I've never had to use that. I've never had to, but it's always good to have backup gear. But typically I shoot with two bodies, a Leica body and a Canon body when I'm shooting digital at weddings. And I have that backup camera that I never ever use. It just sits and lives in my car trunk. And it's the 5D Classic. It's like a $150, $200 camera with another $100 lens on it. And it is just in case of emergencies. Because I personally believe that I can shoot a wedding with really any full frame camera and a 50 millimeter focal length. The vast majority of our clients aren't so much concerned about the gear as we are, as much as they are about the memories. So I want to have the right tools that will allow me to create the way that I want. So this is kind of my minimal setup for how I photograph weddings. And I know everyone has a different way of going about photographing weddings, but this is how I do it. I prefer very as little bit of stuff as humanly possible, so that way I can just pick up and create and not have to think about what else I have in my bag. That's really it. That's all I got for you guys today. I will be back with another video about my film camera bag, what I carry when I'm photographing weddings, primarily on film. And it is a little bit of a different bag, a little bit of a different setup, but when I'm shooting digital, this gear is pretty much all that I shoot with. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this, and I cannot wait to share with you with my next video. Hopefully I can shake this cold. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.